Hope you're having a great week. Again, I realize that there have been a number of storms over the Northeast, especially DC, New York, Maryland, Virginia. I think I heard one news story said as many as 1 million folks are without power. So if you're one of those folks and you're just getting to your computer now, we're going to give you extended time to get Module 1 discussions up and extended time to get Module 2 discussions up. So if you're one of those folks, just shoot me an email, say, hey, I need a little bit more extra time. I'd be happy to give that to you. For this week, I thought we would touch on the developmental milestones that children go through, all children go through, over the course of their development. When I was first in school, an instructor, clinical instructor asked, hey, when are you going to get referrals to see kids? And I said, well, it's going to be at all different times. And the instructor said, no, it's going to be at specific times. And what she meant was there are going to be specific developmental hurdles that a child is having trouble getting over, and that's when a concerned parent is going to bring a child in to see you. So those of you, again, on your surveys, nice job getting those done. Most of your child or psychology major or psychology major with an interest in child development. So I just want to go over this notion of developmental milestones and why it's so important in psychology, and how when you get out in the field, you're really going to find that the referrals and the concerns you get from parents match these developmental milestones. What's the first developmental milestone that chances are you're going to see? And I would say, usually, if you're working with little ones, the first hurdle that you as a early child educator or as somebody working in social work or psychology, if a child's having trouble learning to crawl, learning to roll over, learning to walk between that 8-9 months to 18-month window, if there are some gross motor concerns, that's when a parent is first going to become concerned, bring a child in. The second developmental hurdle is going to be speech. If a child's not saying their first words, between 1 year and 2 years, not babbling, not making word connections, 1 and 2 word connections, between 18 and 24 months. Unfortunately, some parents wait considerably longer than we as professionals would want them to wait. That a child who's 24 or 30 months and is saying 10 words. Most parents don't realize that a child by 30 months should be saying well in excess of 600 to 1,000 words. And by the time a child gets to be 24 months, 18 to 24 months, probably 300 to 500 words is what we want to be seeing. Usually between 12 and 18 months, we're seeing the emergence of language, mama, dada, and those, but quickly language just explodes. And again, unless you're working in the field, most parents aren't going to realize that hey, a child should be engaging in language and just pick it up. Their brains are just hardwired to just pick up everything about language. Once a child masters language, the next developmental hurdle that a child's going to bump into is what? Between the ages of 5 and 7, depending on when the child starts school, it's going to be learning to read. Learning their pre-academic skill, their shapes, their numbers, their colors, their name, writing their name, counting to 20, learning their ABCs, and learning to read. The child's going to spend the next couple of years from 1st to 3rd grade learning to read. After the child learns to read, then the next developmental hurdle is going to be 4th to 6th grade, again depending on the school system. The child's going to be making the shift from learning to read to reading to learn. what an author means, the intent, the meaning of a story, the themes of stories. That's the next major transition cognitively that a child is going to make. And then with all these developmental hurdles, you could pinpoint and identify different social and physical hurdles. I'm focusing on more the primary cognitive hurdle that a child's going to be brought in. After 4th to 6th grade, then you bump into the 8th, 9th, 10th grade hurdle, and that's when a child's making the transition with multiple instructors, multiple classes, and their organizational skills are really being taxed. And the child has to master major organizational challenges and handling their work on their own. And then college, the developmental hurdle is doing their work completely on their own. And then the next developmental hurdle after college is living on one's own, paying bills, and forming romantic relationships and starting their own family and starting their career. So those are the major developmental hurdles. Believe it or not, the referrals that you'll get as a professional will pretty much mark those developmental hurdles. So when you get a referral and the child's 6 or 7, in the back of your mind you could be thinking, hey, is this child having trouble learning to read? Could be other things, could be defiance and depression, even as young as 6 and 7, but chances are if a child's struggling at that particular age, you might be having trouble getting over that developmental hurdle. Again, if you get an adolescent, might be depression, might be a host of other things, but if you're seeing a child, chances are, hey, they're struggling with their organizational skills, juggling 7 or 8 classes at once, in addition to whatever other problems they might be experiencing. What else might we chit-chat about? Talk about presentation. Adolescent. I just want to touch on a couple of other thoughts on adolescence. If you have any questions on information that we're talking about, feel free to give me a call or give me an email. One of the questions I always get as a professional in terms of parenting style is, what parenting style do you recommend, especially with adolescents? And I think it depends on the child. If you have a child who's got a 79 IQ, tends to be a follower, and follows, and doesn't make the best of decisions when in a group, you as a parent might need to be more structured and more directive. Vice, having a child who's got a 135 IQ, plays varsity sports, is employed, is engaged in a number of social clubs, and historically has made outstanding decisions, has been in parties where there's been alcohol and they called him and left, has been in locations where drugs have been present, knew it was the wrong thing to do, and left and came and talked to you, has engaged in relationships where their partner has placed pressure on them or made them feel uncomfortable with regards to sexual relations, come home and have talked to you. That's a much different child. That's a child that needs much less intervention from a parent, much less structure. If you're in that situation as a parent, where the child's bright, motivated, history of making good decisions, usually parents are stunned when I say, take all rules away, especially when the child gets to be a senior in high school. And my rationale for that is the child's typically 17 or 18 years of age by that time. The child's bright enough, motivated enough, they're going to be headed to college, and in 12 months they're going to be completely living on their own. So what better venue to offer the child some additional freedom, make good decisions, they can trust you, etc. And they're going to make some mistakes. And that way you as a parent will be there to kind of comment and providing a running dialogue of the child's decision-making process, and to go over with them. Well, you came in at 2 o'clock last night. You had to work at 7, and you only got 5 hours of sleep. Was that the best decision? What can you do next time, etc. If you had a big test the next day, how would that impact your grades, etc. Vice when they're getting off to college and they're doing the other end of the spectrum. Let's say you have a child who has mild Asperger's or mild autism. Parents ask, hey, what type of parenting style, how do we approach independent living? And my recommendations there are that we tend to feel like we're locked into a box. Kids go to high school, they go for 4 years, they submit their applications, they're off to college. And my thought there is, why? Why do we have to follow that script? If we have a child who's off developmental track a little and thinks a little bit differently, but we as adults can see that this child might be able to, or probably will be able to, engage in independent living, but down the road, why does it have to be 4 years? Maybe the child could do 4 years of high school and then take a 5th year to complete the application process to college, and then take a 6th year to do some independent living, live at a local community college, before moving on to a more traditional 4-year university where the young man or young lady can then experience much less pressure and have a lot more practice in terms of independent living and dealing with the college environment. So those are some of the thoughts on developmental hurdles and adolescent and parental stresses and strains that I was thinking of while I was reading the first couple chapters of Reviving the Feeling. Really enjoyed your comments and critique of the book. Hope you're enjoying it. Sounds like a number of you really enjoyed that book. Not like the traditional textbook. This book is a little bit more clinical, but I feel comfortable with the choice again, given that the majority of you are psychology majors, early childhood education majors. I would have been a little bit more hesitant and uncomfortable with my choice if most of you were business majors. Well, that's it for this week in terms of lecture. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed chit-chat with you. Hope you have a great week. And as always, I'll see you around campus. If you have any questions, shoot me an email.